Shalom, 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 yasha'Allah. This your boy, Brother Shamwa Allah, back at you with another quick edifying video. Today's lesson is going to be called Martial Law is Coming. Martial Law is Coming. All right, first and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory. I want to say, Call Halal Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. That's all praises to the Heavenly Father, whose name is Yahawah, and his only begotten Son's name, who you ignorantly call Jesus, whose name is Yahawashi. All right, and the Holy Spirit, which is the Rawchaa Qadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS who have ruled well through the Spirit and have fed and edified the sheep in these last days, and has pushed this gospel and this truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. A mighty shalom. Another mighty shalom to all you Akim out there laboring on the highways and on the hedges and on the unicorn, which is this internet, pushing this 100% doctrine, this 100% truth to the four corners of the earth in these last days. A mighty shalom to you all as well. Like I said, today's lesson is going to be called Martial Law is Coming. All right. And real quick before I show this video, and fair use, but looked up martial law. I'm just going to read it. It says martial law is the temporary imposition of military rule over a civilian population, replacing civilian authorities with military control, suspending civil liberties, and allowing military tribunals to handle legal matters, typically during a state of war or significant civil unrest. In the United States, the president can declare it on a national level, or a governor can do so within a state through constitutional limitations exists, preventing the trial of civilians in military courts if civilian courts are open and functional. All right. So, but as we see, your boy Nero is pushing that agenda. All right. And let's play this real quick. Fair use.
According to the Washington Post, the Pentagon has been planning a military deployment to Chicago for weeks. The Post also reporting that plans could involve several options, including...
Salaki, this has been his plan all from the beginning. He's had this plan for a while, all right? Fair use.
Sending at least a few thousand members of the National Guard to Chicago as soon as...
And Salaki, this is from ABC 7 Chicago, all right? Fair use.
Next month. The Washington Post also reporting that there have been talks about using thousands of active duty troops in Chicago, but reports that plan is less likely to happen. Threats to deploy the National Guard to Chicago could come to fruition, according to the Washington Post, with possible plans to deploy...
Right. So it says, Washington Post, President Trump could deploy National Guard to Chicago next month. All right, fair use.
As soon as September. This is all in support of what President Trump says is a crackdown on crime. National Guard troops have already been deployed in Washington, D.C., and this comes after Trump Friday alluded to Chicago being the next target. Despite these calls, Chicago police data shows violent crime is down in comparison to this time last year. Mayor Brandon Johnson had this to say at a block party.
Right, so, and that's the thing that's going on, right? A lot of these cities where Trump wants to deploy, it's showing that crime is down. But remember, if you remember his campaign, he already said he was going to send troops to the inner cities, right? He said it already. All right, he's just making good on his word right now. He's making good on what he said he was going to do, right? When he was campaigning, all right, for this presidency, you just go back and listen, man. This is some of the stuff that he was talking about, and he's going to do that. All right. Let me see. Hold on one second. Okay, this is an article right here. It says Trump to deploy National Guard across 19 states in the coming weeks. It says roughly 1,700 National Guard troops will soon be on the streets in nearly 24 states by the end of the summer, according to a new report. It says in a Friday article, Fox News reported that President Nero will soon be using his official powers to deploy the National Guards in 19 states in the coming weeks. Trump will be deploying guardsmen under his presidential Title 32 authority, meaning that despite Trump initiating the deployment, guardsmen will still be reporting to state governors and their respective National Guard adjutant generals. It says a Department of Defense official told Fox News that the guardsmen are meant to serve as a visible deterrent while assisting U.S. immigration and customs enforcement. Troops will be mainly handling administrative duties like case management, transportation, logistical support, and clerical functions associated with the processing of illegal immigrants at the facilities, according to the report. This could include data collection, fingerprinting, DNA swapping, and photographing of personnel in ICE custody. It says the network further reported that planning documents show the National Guard will be deploying in Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, Ohio, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Virginia, and Wyoming. All of those states, save for New Mexico, have Republican governors. It says their window of deployment will reportedly last between August and mid-November. A spokesman for the Virginia National Guard told Fox that the training of their deployment, scheduled for early September, will begin next week. The Virginia National Guard spokesman added that there are so far approximately 60 soldiers and airmen who will be deployed in the Old Dominion state. The VNG personnel will not conduct law enforcement functions, and support will not include making arrests. It says the airmen will report directly to ICE leadership to their assigned duty locations, but remain under the control and direction of the Virginia governor and adjutant general of Virginia. It says the Posse Comitis Acts of 1878 prohibits the U.S. military from conducting law enforcement operations on American soil. However, the act doesn't apply to the president's Title 32 to call up the National Guard. The report deployment comes on the heels of Trump telling reporters in the Oval Office press gaggle that he was contemplating sending the military to Chicago and New York City following his imposition of federal control over the Washington, D.C.'s law enforcement operations. All right, so like we say, hey, martial law is coming. All right, let's just get a couple of scriptures. Matter of fact, let's go to Isaiah chapter 10. Matter of fact, let's start at 19. Isaiah chapter 19 and verse number 4. So just imagine, right? You got, troops, you have National Guards who, families are here, and now you got them, working, and patrolling the streets of their neighborhood or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like this is going to cause major conflict. All right. And you see, when you go to Isaiah chapter 19, verse 2, it says, I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight every one against his brother, and every one against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. All right, and this is what you're going to be seeing, man. All right, you've deployed your National Guard amongst the civilians, right? Now, this is, hey, it says it's crazy. All right, let's read verse 3. It says, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to idols and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to wizards. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of the cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord, Yahawah Bahasham of hosts. All right, so listen, the cruel Lord, man, is your boy Nero, man. All right, he's coming. Like I said, all this stuff is what he's planned. He planned during his run for presidency. He talked about it, right? Now he's just implementing. All right, and we know the king's heart is in the hands of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. All right, so ultimately the Lord is making him do these things. All right, to what? To fulfill prophecy. All right, because this place is already deeply divided. All right, so in a kingdom divided against itself shall not stand. All right, so you're gonna have, this is modern day Egypt. All right, this is modern day Egypt, right? Romans, not Salakia, Revelation 11 and 8. All right, the great city, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, is talking about Babylon, or AKA America, or modern day Egypt. Okay, right, and as you see, you have that cruel Lord. Okay, and what is he doing? Isaiah chapter 10, verse 1 says, woe to them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that right grievousness which they have prescribed. It says to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that the widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. All right, but they're writing these unrighteous decrees. All right, they're using these loopholes to send the troops out. All right, amongst the civilians. All right, and we already know how. And you saw in the article, they're sending it to a lot of these Republican states. All right, because what, they're on the side of Nero, right, and they're going to allow that. All right, and now he's sending them to what, these Democratic states. All right, and these mayors who I believe the majority of them are Jake mayors out here, and he's sending these troops to these cities. Talking about he has to fight crime. All right, but he knows he has it. Let's get that. Revelation 12 and verse number 12. It says, therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he have but a short time. Okay, and they know they got a short time, right? So they're trying to implement all these different things. Okay, and they know that they can't stop prophecy. Okay, this is 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse number 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, and they shall not regard the kings nor the princes. All right, so it's going to get to the point where, hey, and right now they're acting like they're going to do clerical work and this different stuff. But ultimately, something's going to happen where there's going to be some type of force used, and then all hell's going to break loose. Right? It says, there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another, and they shall not regard their kings nor their princes. All right, they're not gonna care what your boy Nero says. All right, and you're gonna see the uproars. All right, and that's what 2nd Esdras 9 says. When you shall see earthquakes and the uproars of people, you shall know. All right, that the time of the visitation is near. Okay, it says, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able to. Why? Because you got military troops blocking, access to the outside to get into these other cities. All right? Full control, man. All right? You see what's going on. It says, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. The houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and shall spoil their goods because of lack of bread and for great tribulation. Okay? So, imagine when the troops, and this was planned, back when they did the infrastructure of these major cities, right? A lot of these major cities where Jake dwells, they set it up where if they put military in certain places, they can basically block you out. They can keep you inside. All right. You're not going to be able to get out. All right. On those bridges, right? In New York City, you just block them bridges. Ain't nobody going nowhere. All right. You got Atlanta, that the 285, right? In Atlanta, the city, the majority is inside that 285 belt. You put the troops, right, on the exits and all those different, nobody's getting out of there. That's how they planned this out. I believe even in the 60s, they was doing that. The way how they planned it, they planned it so if with the civil rights movement, they did these kind of tactics. So if they had to call the military, that's all they had to do and block you in there. All right. Now just imagine, right? They're closing down the stores in your area, and now you have to travel, far and low. Now you can't even travel. Okay. So what's gonna happen? That lack of food, all right, and what's gonna happen? People are not gonna have pity. They're gonna be fighting each other, all right, for that bread that you got in your house, right? That jug of water that they seen you come in with, all these different things, man. All right, but these are all part of prophecy that has to happen. All right, but we see, man, martial law is coming. Okay, so I just wanted to do this quick lesson. Lord's will, this was edifying. Right with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory. I want to say, Halal Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. Peace and blessings to the elect of the 12 tribes scattered abroad. A mighty shalom to the 144,000 men. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who have ruled well to the Spirit and have fed and edified the sheep in these last days. Another mighty shalom to the rest of the elect out there. Stay diligent, stay focused, keep enduring, all right? Trust, and keep your trust and your faith in Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi, man, to get you through. All right, these are the times of Jacob's trouble, man. And you see they're talking about as early as, in a few days to next month, all right, that these troops will be going into these cities, man. All right, so hey, time is ticking, man. We are close to the edge, close to the end, man. All right, this is the time to stay diligent, stay focused, and keep enduring. All right, and with that, we say a boil, and shalom.